All right, let's talk about something that we all deal with, but let's be honest, most of us don't really get conflict. You know, that friction in our friendships, the tension at work, even that argument in our own heads. What if we could actually get better at handling it? Well, let's dive in.
You've been there, right? Of course you have. One second, you're casually talking about what to watch on TV, and the next, bam, it's somehow a massive, world-ending argument. That crazy escalation, it's baffling, it's frustrating, and it turns out it happens for a reason.
And here's the first thing you've got to understand. This isn't some weird flaw in your personality. Conflict is just a basic part of being a person. It happens inside our own minds. It happens between us and the people we love. And it scales all the way up to countries and governments. It's just part of the deal.
But, and this is the whole point, just because it's everywhere doesn't mean we're helpless. The goal here is to pull back the curtain and see the hidden machinery behind why we fight. Because once you understand the mechanics of it, you can start navigating these things with a whole lot more control. And we really need to get a handle on it, because the cost of conflict is real. It's not just about hurt feelings, it's that knot in your stomach, that feeling of dread, the way it just sucks all the energy out of you. It makes us selfish, impatient, basically the worst versions of ourselves.
So what is it that actually lights the fuse? Let's get into some of the most common and often totally invisible triggers that kick off our arguments.
First up, and this is a big one, perception. The simple fact is, none of us see the world as it is. We see it as we are. We're each looking through our own unique lens. So what seems like common sense to you might look completely backward to someone else. And when those two views collide, well, you get sparks.
Ooh, and this one is a huge source of trouble. Unmet expectations. We all walk around with this secret rule book in our heads for how other people are supposed to act. Your boss just assumes you know what to prioritize. You expect your partner to read your mind. When people don't follow these rules they never knew existed, we get frustrated, and that frustration easily boils over. Now we're going even deeper, our values. These are the things we hold as fundamentally true, our core beliefs about what's right and what's wrong. So when you're arguing about something like politics or how to raise kids, you're not just debating an idea. You're clashing on the level of identity, and that's intense. And let's not forget the simple biological stuff. I mean, have you ever snapped at somebody just because you were exhausted or hungry or just totally stressed out? Yeah. When our bodies and minds are already under strain, our fuse gets incredibly short. Sometimes a fight has nothing to do with the topic at hand and everything to do with a bad night's sleep. Okay, so we've got the triggers down. Now let's look at the different arenas where this stuff plays out. Because a fight isn't just a fight. It happens on all these different scales, from inside your own head all the way to the global stage. And it all begins right here, inside, the battle within. That's the voice in your head going back and forth. Should I quit my job or play it safe? Do I say what I really think or just keep the peace? That's intrapersonal conflict, and it's the seed from which all other conflicts grow. Now, check out this distinction because it's super important. Interpersonal conflict is what we usually think of. It's me versus you, one-on-one. But role conflict is different. That's a clash about our jobs or positions. Think about two parents arguing over who's supposed to handle discipline, or two managers at work fighting over who's in charge of a project. The fight isn't just personal, it's about the system you're in. And from there, you just zoom out. Intergroup conflict is when it's us versus them. Our team, our race, our political party against another. And at the very top, you get international conflict. The wild part is that these massive, global disputes are often powered by the exact same dynamics we've been talking about. Different perceptions, unmet expectations, and clashing values. Okay, let's zoom back in on that clashing values idea, because this is where conflicts can become the absolute most heated and the hardest to solve. So when you dig way, way down, a lot of our most bitter fights are really about competition, a competition for things that are in short supply. And I'm not just talking about stuff. I'm talking about the big three social currencies: money, power, and prestige. The struggle to get more of these is a basic, primal driver of human conflict. When these kinds of fights creep into our personal lives, it puts our relationships under incredible pressure. And there's this fantastic metaphor that explains it perfectly. Our relationships are like a rubber band. Think about it. A good, healthy relationship has some give. It can stretch to handle some stress and disagreement.
But if you just keep pulling, if you keep adding tension from conflict without ever letting up, that rubber band gets thin and frayed. And eventually, if you pull hard enough, it snaps. And some things, once broken, can't be fixed. You know what makes all of this even more complicated? We often have these value conflicts baked right into our own culture, even into our own heads. We're told to look before you leap, right? But we're also told he who hesitates is lost. So, which is it? Be careful, but also be bold? This internal tug of war means we're often starting a conflict with ourselves before anyone else is even in the room. So, we've looked at the triggers, the different levels, the really intense stuff. It can feel like a lot to handle. But here it is. This is the single most powerful, most useful takeaway from everything we've talked about. It all boils down to this one simple, powerful phrase. To name it is to claim it. The very first, most critical step to getting a handle on any conflict is to be able to identify exactly what it is. So what does that actually mean? It means you have to pause in the heat of the moment and ask the right questions. Is this fight really about him being late? Or is it an unmet expectation about respect? Is this just a personality clash, or is this a deeper role conflict about our jobs? Is this about money, or is it really about prestige? The second you can accurately name the conflict, you take away its emotional power. You stop just reacting, and you start problem solving. And once you've named the problem, you can start to claim a solution. So I'll leave you with this to think about. With all this in mind, what's a conflict in your own life, big or small, past or present, that you can now see just a little bit more clearly? What can you finally name?